Hello and good morning to you. This is Cliff Graves from Train Well Boxing. Just a second. Just shutting the door there. We have lots of activity like Piccadilly Circus here. So I hope you've got yourself a cuppa. Sit back and let's just unravel all of this nonsense that we hear from evolutionists and atheists. They are espousing rubbish. They are being allowed to get away with it. And quite frankly, I've had enough. Some of these characters have made a lot of money out of their deceit and their inane, puerile beliefs. A lot of money. They have been supported by British TV and they've had their mortgages paid off and got lush, plush houses out of lies and deceit. So, evolution does not stack up. I am classified as probably 90% carnivore. I follow a very strict ketogenic diet through and due to combating diabetes type 2. I find that it lowers my insulin levels and keeps my blood glucose in check. However, thrown into the mix of us carnivores, enter in evolutionists. They claim, oh, our ancient ancestors ate meat. 350,000 years ago, they say, we were eating meat. Well, how can they say that? I actually do believe that that was the case, but not 350,000 years ago. How can they say that? And then when we look at the Darwinian principle, the Darwinian theory, you know, the one with the ape, the diagram of the ape, the monkey, the gorilla, whatever one of you call it, the ape, and then going through the different stages, and then the human being walking away with a straight back. Do you know that one? It's the Darwinian principle. Almost identifying with the fact that our ancient ancestors was great uncle orangutan. Do you know what I mean? It's quite laughable, but it is absolutely ludicrous. But if you take the gorilla, which is part of the ape family, isn't it? Such as the orangutan, such as the chimpanzee, that's what they call the ape world. And that's what they're saying we emanated from, apes. The gorilla is herbivorous. Let me say that to you again. The gorilla, part of the ape world, which we allegedly came from, is a vegan, a vegetarian. Did you get that? Did you understand that? Who has seen, hands up, who has seen David Attenborough lying with all the gorillas and they're eating bananas? Because I can remember seeing it back in the 90s. So why is it that we have herbivorous, vegetarian apes, and yet, looking at the Darwinian principle, we can see caveman out of it eating meat? But we get indications from the Bible, and it does say in Genesis that we were given every green plant to eat on the planet, but we must not eat from the forbidden tree of life. When we did, we were cursed, and it said that we will now, by strife, toil, and hard work, eat. So what does that tie in with? That we became hunter-gatherers. I think all those thousands of years ago, we certainly in Anglo-Saxon encampments, we would have gathered things like berries, blackberries, raspberries, that sort of thing, and stored them away for consumption. But I do get and accept that all those thousands of years ago, BC, we would have predominantly hunted down venison, pheasants, chickens, wild boar, and the like. So I accept that primitive humanity would have been predominantly carnivore. However, in the Bible, it does say that the ancients ate locusts, bread, and honey. But I just think we need to put this into perspective, because I am totally against the eating of any carbohydrates. How emmer wheat, for example, to make the bread was made, it was unleavened bread without any yeast. The quality of the crop that they made the wheat out of would have been indescribable. You cannot compare it to the quality of what is produced now. This highly processed foodstuff that is grown in already infected soil is no comparison to what they were eating 2000 odd AD. Now we're talking about AD, about 2000 years ago. So I just want to get that one straight. But I've said this before till I'm blue in the face. The evolutionists do not have any credible scientific white paper studies. They have nothing. They have nothing that can definitively prove out their claims and allegations of evolution. Oh, they talk about isotaping. Isotaping, there has to be a credible timetable, historical timeline. Because they rely on BC and AD calendar, which they do, because if they didn't, they wouldn't recognize 365 days as 1 year. So they do. They have no credible evidence in any way, shape, or form, but they espouse their nonsense, which it is, and deceit, with nothing credible to say, this is why, because of X, Y, Z. This was the divine spark of life because of A, B, C. Dear listener, they can't do that. And they never will be able to do that. Because evolution is lies and deceit. I have already said before in other broadcasts, adaptation of the species, yes, I totally agree with. Evolution, no. I have probably put out about half a dozen of these videos, laying down the gauntlet to these evolutions. Come on and debate with me publicly. Let's do a live broadcast, not recorded, live broadcast. And I will ask you very, very simple questions that you should be able to answer with ease if your theory stacks up. Answer me, why is it that the Darwinian principle shows at one end of the spectrum an ape, at the other end of the spectrum a human being? So what happened to the stages in between then? The second question is, why do you set your calendar, evolutionists, on the Christian calendar of BC and AD? Next question is, explain to me with credible scientific evidence the divine spark of life. And finally, if I'm wrong and you're right about it all, that there is no afterlife, and we live 70, 80, maybe 90, maybe 100, maybe less than 70 years, and that's it, we're gone, we're finished, we're over. Our earthly bodies, yeah, because they do go to dust. Of course they do. But what about the spirits? What about our souls? If we didn't have spirit and soul, we would be emotionless like robots, like AI robots. But we're not. We've got emotion. So where does all that come from? They cannot explain why they adopt the Christian calendar of BC and AD. They cannot explain what definitively via white paper studies what the divine spark of life is. And yet the Christians have a massive, great big Bible, which is a scientific book, historical book, prophecy book, guidance book of hundreds and hundreds of pages. And yet they have nothing. They're no further forward than what they were 1,000 years ago. So come on then, evolutionists, step up to the plate, be brave. You don't have to quake in your shoes, afraid. Step up to the plate. I bet you don't, because you're frightened. The next category is the atheists. And this cesspit of ne'er-do-wells. Well, yours is a religion because you have no credible argument other than I don't believe because I choose not to. You got a problem with that, pal. They can get quite aggressive, atheists. You got some sort of problem with that? Listen, mate, I choose not to believe because I don't believe, right? What's your problem? Theirs is a belief system, just the same as Christianity. Just the same. If they didn't know it, they believe that there is no God. So it's a belief system. It's a belief system. And yet you could say the sky's blue and they say, well, it ain't really, is it? It's got flecks of white in it. It's not blue. Theoretically, it's not blue. They question everything because of earlier life occurrences, I believe, whereby they would have been brought up, a lot of them, into extremely staunch Christian religious beliefs. And so by the end of it, they've had a belly full of it, and they discover amber nectar down the pub. I thought, oh, mate, I ain't believing any in all that old nonsense again, mate. Now I'm free now. I've got my own beliefs. And that's exactly the thing. They've got their own beliefs. Again, with no credibility. And yet they criticize us. They mock us, Christians. And yet we've got a Bible. You see in the book of Daniel, go and read the book of Daniel. It will freak you out. We are now seeing biblical prophecies beginning to... Thank you. That's just the wife bringing me in. Oh dear, the cream's gone off a bit. We are now beginning to see biblical prophecies unravel themselves right before our very eyes. But the atheist doesn't believe in anything. They believe every single page of the Bible is complete and utter nonsense. And yet they have nothing other than to remain resolutely in their stance, take the piss, try and make things comical about Christianity, and yet they have no credibility themselves. It is completely skewed. Completely skewed. You cannot have a Bible and say every single page, every single word is complete lies and bullshit. So that's it. I rest my case. I think you need to know, firstly, evolutionists, that you are challenged. It's over for you. The game's over. The big con is over. It's over, evolutionists. It's over. Atheists, get a life before it's too late for you. Okay, thanks for listening. This is Cliff Graves from Train World Boxing. See you later. Ciao.